Hello and welcome to the week ahead. What a crazy week we had. I've been saying for a while that we were extended up here, and I could tell that by the distance between the daily EMA 12 and just price. You can see this giant gap of air we had up here. We tried to break lower here on Thursday, and then push, 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 two inside bars on NQ, and then boom, down we go. And so, what does this mean? Well, for a long time, I was convinced that as long as we were setting daily higher lows, we were okay. But you can see all along the way here, we've been coming down and testing the 50-day, but ultimately really just this black line here, which is the weekly EMA 12. So one test, two tests, three tests now. But this is not, if it was a flat bottom that we were testing, that would be telling me that yes, we're going to break lower. If we test it over and over again, then eventually it'll probably break. But this is an uptrending moving average. And so this is what I call a moving average rider. And now we have tested it for a third time, which really just affirms that the rider is holding. And so from here, obviously, next week I'm expecting the bounce to continue, and we keep going up. Now there is the looming news of the government shutdown, which is it going to be resolved or not? And when it gets resolved, that really could go either way, right? It could be good news, it could be bad news, because once it gets resolved, we'll start to get data that drives the market again. And I don't think it's instantly as soon as it's resolved we get that data, but it's going to start to roll in, and then we'll see the effects that has, because we've had quite a while now where we haven't had data to tell us, the stuff that the Fed uses to gauge what they're going to do. So even at the last FOMC meeting, I was a little surprised that they were saying anything without the data to guide them. So we'll see what happens there. But as far as the chart goes and technical analysis goes, we had a nice solid bounce. This is a really great looking candle on the daily against the weekly EMA 12. And so you kind of expect that the bounce is going to continue, and then we're going to be stuck playing the head and shoulders game. So just to recap what I've drawn here. So I always do this where I figure out where are the boxes that we're trading in. So here's one, here's another we broke out of. We broke out very strongly out of that box. We came back in. We've now tested weekly EMA 12 and basically the balance of that box as well. And so now I'm expecting a daily lower high, potential daily lower high, just because the size of this retracement was so big. And then this is the head and shoulders game. Are we gonna we had a left shoulder, we now have a potential head. Are we gonna get a right shoulder and go down or not? And I don't know. We'll see. Are we gonna just keep pushing up higher and then come back and test the weekly EMA 12 again? Is it gonna do some of that, or are we actually gonna get that lower high and then finally lose the weekly EMA 12? So remains to be seen. But the bounce was really great on Friday, and so far as I can tell, on the weekly time frame, bulls are still in control. Okay, so really quickly, I wanted to just run through how bad is this? Because as things were going down last week, it looked really bad on a lot of names to just come crashing down so far so fast. I know on Nvidia it was like I think we lost 15% from the highs. So that can feel pretty end of the world, and it definitely got me into a headspace where I was feeling pretty bearish, and I could see in the communities that I trade in, people getting very, very bearish. But the bounce here on the weekly tells me that I don't know how bearish we need to be. So obviously one of the guides that I look to help me understand where the market is going is big tech. Big tech drives a lot of what happens in the market. So let's do a quick run through of the Mag 7. Apple still holding daily EMA 12, the blue line here. It really didn't get affected at all from the highs. It's just sort of bouncing sideways since earnings. Google holding daily EMA 12, nice solid bounce off of it there. But it did set up a high, a low, lower high, and now a lower low. So technically it's a daily downtrend, but to me it's not like a super bearish daily downtrend. A super bearish daily downtrend for me would be something like from the high we actually hit the daily EMA 12, then get a lower high, then break the daily EMA 12. That would be bad. This, not so much. And then Amazon highs, test the daily EMA 12, beautiful test at the top of this range we were in, and a bounce. So that's strong. Microsoft, this is dead money, and it has been for a long time. Like we had this beautiful rally up, and now since basically July, we've been sideways. Tried to break higher, completely collapsed, fell back over, and was testing the bottom of the range here on Friday. So dead money in my opinion. I'm not really interested in trading Microsoft. Meta, complete disaster. Just a complete disaster. Anytime we lose the daily EMA 12, I'm like, oh, I wonder how we look on the weekly. So I jump to the weekly. Oh wow, the weekly looks terrible. Let's jump to the monthly. Oh wow, we lost the monthly EMA 12. This is not good. I'd say on the monthly time frame, you can't help but think, are we going to get, this is the head, are we going to get a right shoulder and completely roll over? It just doesn't look good. So actually, I'm going to mark these off. So Apple was good, Google good, Amazon good, Microsoft not good. Let's call that red. Meta, really red. Now Tesla, how are we looking? Tesla actually is trading in a range. I've had this range drawn on here for a while because we had like 1, 2, 3 tests of the low, 1, 2, 3, 4 tests of the high, and we were coming back down. And so we bounced at the daily 50 SMA, and we didn't get to the bottom of range again yet, but it was still weak. The bounce on Friday was weak. Let me show you what that looked like. So just to put this in perspective, let me show you what QQQ looked like. This was a nice solid bounce that really didn't give anything back into the close and carried on up after hours. Tesla failed at that spot where Q's continued and came back in deeper, and it was going sideways. So not really rallying from there. It's like it wants to go lower. I guess people didn't love the fact that Elon has got this crazy pay package, but I do think that Tesla still is a great looking chart. It's just going sideways here. I don't know what to think of this yet. I need to see what happens on Monday. Does this continue down? And obviously I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to what happens here at the bottom of this range that it's been trading in. If it came down deeper and touched weekly EMA 12, I gotta say I'm interested long. So I'm going to mark this as green. So mostly when you look at the Mag 7, not including NVIDIA, pretty green so far. You know, of the 6 that I've got here, only 2 of them I've marked as bearish and red. So now I'm going to show you NVIDIA, which I want to talk about what happened there. I call it the trade of the week, but there were actually 2 trades of the week. One was the short from the top, and the other was the long from the bottom, which I got. I did not get the short from the top, but I did get the long from the bottom, so I'm going to talk about those. So NVIDIA, let me jump out to the daily. NVIDIA was basically leading this charge, I felt. The huge rally we had out of the lows and then pushing highs here, the strongest name in my opinion was NVIDIA leading the big tech charge. And so after we set this high, you kind of had to be looking at, we set a daily high or low, and it was dubious. I'm looking at this and like, wow, a daily high or low up here with all this space still, it seems, I don't know if we can make it. So I was looking at this thinking, I don't know if we can make it, but I did not get short. And I know somebody who did, and I'm going to show you how they did it. And they basically rode it from the top all the way down. So here's what that looked like on the shorter term time frame. Okay, so here's the 30-minute time frame on NVIDIA. Here's the top that was set back on Wednesday. And then from that top, there was actually a short you could have taken from the top here, but I'm not good at catching tops on leading stocks. So what I prefer to do is wait to see what happens after the top is set. Is it able to continue to set another top, or does it fail to do so? And that's what this trader did that I saw in a community that I'm in and was very impressed, and I wish that I got it myself. But he didn't do it here on this day. So we had this top. We basically rejected from that top pretty sharply. So we closed down below the open, which is your first sign. Okay, that's probably the top. Next day, we were not able to come even close to breaking the high of that day, so heading lower. And now we've defined a low that's been set on the day. This is your potential daily high or low down here, right? And then the next day, we move up and we break the high of prior day, right? So here on the first move up, we break that high. So if you wanted to try to get short, this was probably not the best day to do it, because really what you're trading against from the daily time frame is you'd need to have your stop up above here if you were going to try to make that short. And so that's a pretty wide stop, not ideal, but it did break above that high and then reject and come down, but did not break the low of that prior day. So it broke the high, didn't break the low. That's telling you it might go higher. Next morning, moves back up, opens just above the high of prior day, and pushes up higher. So now I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of what happened here. Okay, so this is down to the 5-minute time frame, and here is the high of prior day that we broke on this day. This was the Monday, this was the Friday. So on the Monday, right off the open, we rally highs and we break. So again, to keep it in perspective, the red line up here is the all-time high. This red line here is the high of prior day. So I'm just going to call this yesterday high of day, YHOD. Okay, so off the open, we open above the prior day high, we push up and we reject and we come down. And so what do we end up with right off the open is a balance. And so to get this trade, first of all, you've got to be patient. That's the first thing I'd make note of on this trade, because a lot of the time when I'm getting into a trade, I'm trying to get positioned early in the day. I'm pretty good at understanding personally what's happening from day to day and what I need to see on the open in order to get into a trade. What I personally fail to do throughout the day is continue to be objective about, okay, what are buyers and sellers trying to do right now? And I feel like if I was more on the ball with that, I could have caught this trade. So here's what I think the great trader who caught this did. So from the open, we basically, from here, we rally to set this high. So now we've got a top of range for the morning. Then it comes down and sets a low, right? So now we've defined our 5-minute range. We've got a high, we've got a low. Tries to rally, fails to do so, sets a lower high. Tries to go lower, fails to do so, sets a higher low. So we're trading within that 5-minute range now, right? And we need to see which way is it going to break. Okay, so it tries to get above. I would call this basically like an attempt to get above, but a failure to do so. Does set a higher low. So that's another match of this level. So basically, I think at this point now we've got a flat top we're trying to break, and the next question that buyers and sellers are trying to figure out is, are we going to set a higher low, which we did, and then boom, we break through that flat top. So this could have been a trade right here if you were a short-term intraday trader. You've got a flat top with a rising bottom on this flat top triangle and a breakout. So you break out of that, boom, okay, cool. At this point now, in my mind, I know me as a trader, I'd be looking at this going, oh, I guess it's going back to all-time highs. And I stopped looking and I stopped thinking short, because I'm like, oh, buyers just proved it. They broke the high of prior day. They had a little bit of balance. Now we're going back to highs, right? And what the great trader did is said, okay, yes, on the short-term time frame, it took a really long time for these guys to figure out which way are we going. They've decided they're going to try for higher. So let's see what happens, is what this trader says. So he goes, okay, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, but it's looking kind of weak. Nice push to higher, high, and then immediate higher, low, and then pushing, can't do it. Pushing, tries to get the higher high here, doesn't get it, breaks down. And I'll stop it right there and just point out, okay, so on these 5-minute bars here, what do you get? You get basically this low at 210.90, which is basically tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then breaks. It's the exact opposite of what I talked about here, but on a smaller time frame. So we had like a flat top here that was broken, and over here we have a flat bottom from here to there that ends up getting violated. And when that gets violated, look, it pushed up, tried to get higher, couldn't do it. Tried to get close to this all-time high, couldn't do it. Sets a teeny tiny lower high and then breaks this. And I'd say, like, as an intraday trader, I might be thinking, well, it's probably, if it holds this moving average here, like a 5-minute EMA 12, it's probably just going to keep pushing higher. This guy didn't see that. He was like, no, this is a short right here. So that's it. Like, if I was going to draw this box on here, you're looking for a short below that level. You could, if you wanted, you could put your stop right there at the all-time high, and that's your risk amount. If you're really confident that you're looking for the top, you set your risk right there over that little top. But if you want to be safe, it would be up there, and then down you go. And how did that play out? Like, look at the 30-minute time frame. This guy held this trade, and he basically, I think he might have closed it right at the bottom for like a 15% win. That's insane. That to me is the trade of the week. That's bonkers. Good for him. Now let's look at what happened at the bottom, because that's what I traded. From my perspective, I'm down here looking for the weekly EMA 12. Let me put on the indicators that I use. Okay, so the indicators that I use to trade are the EMA 12. I use RSI. And so when we lost this blue line here is the daily EMA 12. So when we lost this here on Thursday, I'm aware we're probably going to try to test the weekly EMA 12. So I change this to be the weekly. And now we're pushing down towards it. Here it is, the blue line. And look what happened right at the bottom of this dip here. We got 4-hour oversold. This was a really hard place to buy, especially with all the bearishness in the market and so many names completely falling over. But so, it was a very difficult trade for me, and I didn't actually do it that well. I didn't keep my size from the bottom because I was so doubtful. I just thought the whole market felt like it was going to fall over. But I did hold on to some, and I am still in it. So I'll show you what I saw here. Let's go down to the 5. So down here, this green line is the 4-hour oversold. The blue line here is the prior high that we'd broken through when we had the breakout. The weekly EMA 12 is this other blue line here. And so we're down below the weekly EMA 12. On the small time frame here, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm not looking for the bounce to happen right on that line. I just know somewhere around there is where I want to get my bounce. So when we flushed down here, we broke this 5-minute stair step and we started this balance. This is when I thought, oh, this might be the bottom. And at the time that NVIDIA was balancing here, let's see what QQQ was doing. Yeah, QQQ basically, during NVIDIA's balance, QQQ was going lower. So that gave me my first little sign, like, oh, this might be the bottom, because Q is trying to go lower. NVIDIA's balancing. I might want to try to get positioned inside this NVIDIA bottom. So here, as it was in this little balancy range, I started to buy right here. I bought this, and I had like a 179.80 average, I think. It was somewhere in here. No, it must have been 85-ish. Anyway, 179.80, 179.90. That was about the area where I was buying, and I was risking to low of day. And this was a slow grind. Like this it wasn't an easy trade to stay in. I don't know why I had such a hard time with it. It's like the whole time it was bouncing, I just didn't even believe it was still going. I just kept expecting it to roll over. And so I did end up taking some more off as it got up to, for example, as it got up to here under yesterday low of day, I took some off, which is a bummer because now it's rallying and I'm basically in a runner position as opposed to a nice big position where I could be benefiting hugely, because from here I do expect that we are going to push up and either go to daily higher high or daily lower high. Now, based on the retracement of this move, I have to say it's most likely lower high, right? And so I'm expecting it to get somewhere up in here. But either way, that's like a wonderful trade. So I'm really excited that I got that. Okay, this is a really long video. I didn't plan on it being this long. I do want to give you one quick glimpse into what I'm thinking for the week ahead and the names that I'm looking at. And so I want to share with you this list here, which is I call it my today list. It's what I'm looking at going into the day. It's where my focus is. And I've got all the things that I'm looking at broken down into categories, including, this is a really long list, but a lot of these are things that I'm not actually looking at. So I keep them in the list because I might be wanting to look at them in the near future. But if I've dumped it down to this section here where it just says watch, right now the watch area down here is all of the names that I've been watching that have fallen out of favor, that basically broke whatever trend I was interested in, are all heading lower. So if you look at this list, it's gotten really, really big now. And that's the signal to me. That's part of why I was feeling so bearish last week, even when I was buying the dip on NVIDIA, was because so many names have just lost their trend and are crashing down hard. And so that's, I think, where the fear is coming from and why this drop felt so cataclysmic, when in reality, it needed to happen because we were just so extended from the moving average that we're riding here, the weekly EMA 12. So worth pointing that out. Now, I still do have a bunch of really strong names on watch. This is a nice big list of names that are continuing to show strength, and right now they're either too extended for me to be interested in longs, or just not set up quite right yet. And then these are all the names that I'm looking at right now. So I'm in a position in NVIDIA. That's why this is on here at the top. I've got these volume contraction patterns. There's a beauty happening on Rambus. We've got Baba with a VCP here. Was just testing the low of it on Friday. Gold had this pullback and is now moving sideways, and I'm expecting it to continue to tighten up, and then break. I'm not exactly sure which direction, but I think if we did set daily lower highs in the QQQ and the SPYs and then started to come down again, I think this is going to rally hard. So I'm really interested in gold in the coming week. Here is Rivian, which had it's been in this balance for yonks, and it had a nice big move up on earnings. And during the dump that was happening last week, it was basically just chopping sideways up here. So I'm interested in a potential Rivian long that might break this monthly lower high and try to push up. And if it does try to push up, it's got all these resistances from before, and that would be what we call a pivot machine gun. So if it started to break all the stops and all these people who are short from up there, this thing could really start to get going. So I'm interested in that. It is a little bit extended right here. So if it did come in and do a dip, maybe test the weekly EMA 12 again, I might be interested in that. So we'll see what happens in the coming week. CrowdStrike had this cup and handle that it did, and it broke out and now back tested the all-time high. It was like showing a lot of relative strength last week, so this is one that I'm interested in the coming week. F, slow mover forward, is crazy strong. Like, I actually can't believe how strong this thing is. Let me just get my full, here. So you can see it looks really good. It tested daily EMA 12 is continuing up after earnings, so I'm interested in that one. Don't know exactly how I'm going to play it if I am. WDC, this one is actually too extended right now. I got to move this out of the list, but this is another beautiful volume contraction pattern that has been playing out and was just relatively way strong during the pullback last week. Didn't even get to daily EMA 12. The reason I'm going to pull this one down is one of the factors I have is, I have this ATRs-50. This is telling me how many ATRs is the stock away from the 50-day simple moving average. And if it's above 4 ATRs, that comes off my list. So this one has to come down. And so this is going to go back down to my strength on watch. But beautiful, beautiful play there. KGC, this is a gold name, so this is another one that I'm watching. If gold does end up pushing up, this is one that I could trade. Then we have the range bound Tesla I talked about. We have TSM, which is range bound. It did break the low of range, but then rallied back up out of it. And then we have Hood, which tested the bottom of range and rallied out of it. We have DINO. This is an oil name. It's pushing the top of range. I did not manage to buy this dip. I find oil names difficult to trade. I should have been trying to buy down here with a stop below there, but I didn't. And now weekly EMA 12 is pushing up higher. So I think if this one, even if it pushes up a little higher and then comes back down and tests the weekly with a higher low above here, I might be interested in that one. PAR is one that looks really good. You can see it does a lot of choppy stuff sideways, but I'm just looking like what's it been holding the whole time, weekly EMA 12, this black line. So I want to see it come in closer. I want to see the weekly EMA 12 come up here into the top of this range from before, and I want to try to get long somewhere in there. That would be great. And then I have a few names that are strong, but I'm sort of waiting for earnings to play out. So here's one of them, XPEV, so another Chinese name like Baba. It's got earnings coming, but you can see this beautiful VCP it's been doing. You've got Barrick, this is another gold mining company. It's got basically a flat top here that I think would be really cool to break out over if gold gets going. NBIS earnings coming up on Tuesday, and this is also sort of a tightening range. So we'll see what happens here, just sort of on watch for me. That's it for me. I'm going to stop right there. So the big question for the coming week, just to recap, are we going to see a daily head and shoulders play out for lower, or are we going to see a push back to all-time highs? Are we going to see a tightening range? That's the big question for the coming week, and what's going to happen here. So that's it for me. I hope you guys have a great week, and happy trading. Hey, if you like my indicators on TradingView and you like the content I'm producing here on this channel, please remember to like and subscribe.